What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mad Chatter. Got a new guest on. We got Brett Golden.
What's up?
We're going to be spitting some facts today, you know.
Try to.
Yeah.
Opinions.
Disclaimer, yeah.
Opinions.
We're not,
a little fact.
We're not politicians. We're not professionals, you know.
Yeah, don't fact check me, Google.
Yeah. Google whatever you want, guys. Well, shit. So we already done some discussing and stuff on here. So
yeah, we have. So, you know, you want to go in on the big guy, Mr. Badman himself.
Move that for you.
Yeah, let's get this a little closer so I can get personal with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Orange Man Bad.
Yeah.
You know,
agreed.
that was the
Terrible,
topic.
the worst guy
the
ever.
That fucking guy. That guy that everybody fucking didn't like.
Yeah.
But they usually can't tell you why they didn't like him,
Yeah.
other than he was racist.
Yeah.
He was an asshole.
Or he's
My dad's an asshole,
Yeah.
but I still gotta like him sometimes.
Yeah. Not even just him. I mean, it's like you said, it's been going on. The whole divide in the boxing and people's been
Yeah.
going on well before Donald Trump.
Oh, fuck yeah, for
but
sure.
Donald Trump felt like, maybe it's still now it's like that serious, but like Donald Trump when he took office and you know the whole campaign, that was like peak at each other's throats.
Mhm.
I think things have calmed down a little bit in that regard,
Yeah.
but it's still going on.
Well, and partially because when Donald Trump, you know, just tossed his hat into that political ring, it was a guy that people on both sides of the aisle had all partially, like, not all of them, but a lot of them had been involved with at some point.
Mhm.
Like, they either went to a party of his, or he came to a party of theirs, or they did some event that he sponsored
Yeah.
or, you know, helped with, or they just met him throughout
Mhm.
time. I mean, hell, he went to the Clinton's daughter's wedding a couple years before the election
Yeah.
when they were acting like they hated each other, which, you know, I never believed any of that from the
Yeah.
beginning. But it's just the fact that an outsider that wasn't a politician, you know, just was like, you know what, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I feel like it shook it up. And I'm very appreciative for that fact, is that he shook up Washington and how it was perceived for, like, which it hadn't always been, because of course, you know, like we were talking about, Ronald Reagan was an actor and he became president.
Yeah.
And he had a big conservative movement. So stuff like this hasn't not happened before. You know, it's been there. It's happened.
Like
But
Zelensky or
Zelensky in Ukraine, that's a difference. We'll get on that.
yeah.
We'll
Okay.
get on
No,
that
I was
later.
just saying
'Cause I
because
do.
he was on TV and stuff too.
Yeah, there's some things. That guy, yeah, he's
we're,
cool.
We're gonna get there. We'll
Yeah, get there. I mean, Donald Trump could be like compared to Zelensky, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a comedian, but well, he did have comical moments,
Yeah.
like when he was when he did The Apprentice and WWE for sure. I don't know if you remember
Is
that.
he a paid actor?
He made money acting.
Yeah.
I remember because I was a kid, man. I ate wrestling up. I knew it was fake as shit,
Yeah.
but just watching it, it was fun. And I remember when Donald Trump came on there doing the WWF
Mhm.
thing with Vince McMahon. It was Donald Trump versus Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
And it was always hilarious because nobody liked Vince McMahon because of how he ran the WWFE, and like that was part of his character too, though, because
Yeah.
everything in that is scripted and written.
Yeah.
Like, they have characters. This is who they are. Well, he wanted to be like, I'm the owner, but I'm also like the controlling bad guy owner. Like, I don't want people to like me. All I care about is myself and my success.
Yeah.
So he would always put that play on. And when they brought Donald Trump on, it was like they brought a guy on to fight, like another rich guy,
Mhm.
to fight this rich guy. And this guy was like for the people, though. Like, he
Yeah.
wanted to do what the people saw. So this whole Donald Trump man of the people persona and movement, it wasn't new in 2014.
Yeah.
Like, he'd already been in the eyes of the public and doing quite things, which in a way I was like, man, when he announced his presidency and I was thinking about like that WWE and the Apprentice shit, I was like, well, he already has platformed himself with a big enough audience that people are going to know who he is. So that'll draw people to what he's going to say.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can be anybody and run for office, but if nobody knows who the fuck you are, it doesn't matter if you have the best ideas in the world. You're not going to get a voter turnout.
Yeah.
So-
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big correlation between dollars invested
Yeah,
in
dollars.
a campaign. I mean, what is it? Like, the person that has the most money typically wins, or
Person
always
that has the
wins,
most or spends the most.
or spends the most. Yeah.
usually
But I mean,
wins.
Donald Trump spent a whole lot less, but his social media.
He spent a lot less. See, here's the thing, too. When they tally up Donald Trump's money, his campaign donations-wise, yes, he spent a lot less than some did. But he spent a lot of his own personal funds, too.
Yeah.
Which, granted, a lot of people will be like, oh, where does he get his personal funds? Blah 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 blah.
No,
What-
you could.
He's
you
a
could go
fucking
into it
rich
forever.
business guy. I mean, most of those guys in real estate and shit like that, they have their fucking money, they have their assets. I mean, he had it somewhere. He could probably sell a golf club and come out even on what he took as a loss just in
Yeah.
the 4 years. But the fact that he did that was, that was different. It's not a guy just going out, hey, can I get your money? I'm gonna run. Hey,
Yeah,
Mr.
it's
Oil
different.
Corporation.
If you could fund yourself 100%, that doesn't make you beholden to people that gave you money to get in.
Yeah, like
So-
the oil corporations or big pharma or like gun manufacturers,
Or like unions.
unions for
That's
sure.
a big one.
Yeah, you're not.
So, I want to get to like the boxing in with Donald Trump. So, and this is just a question, obviously, be honest with me, because I'm
I'll
always
be.
this is something I'm always very like fascinated about.
Go ahead.
Some people are more reserved sometimes, and other people are very loud, like some people we were talking about earlier. But I'm like, we're talking about Donald Trump, but we really haven't like said our piece on what we thought about Donald Trump. We're kind of just talking about him, not really saying like our strong opinions or not strong opinions. So like whenever we're talking or like you see me, what do you think I think of Donald Trump? I'm always curious to see what.
If I was just to walk up to you
Yeah.
and just be like, what does this guy think of Donald
Yeah.
Trump? I mean, I'm not in your. And it's hard for me to do that because I've never kind of been like that person. But if I was, I'd be like, okay, this guy likely. He sees Donald Trump as this rich guy, obnoxious, asinine.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's New York guy.
Yeah.
I could see that. Just if you'd been watching news, I would assume you think he's like a racist guy that just goes on rants.
Yeah.
Egotistical, maybe. But I mean,
I
it's
don't-
hard to
It's-
see into
it's-
someone's
yeah.
head and be like, oh, what do you think? Because I mean, I've met country ass looking people and they're like, fuck Donald Trump. I'll tell you why. Fuck that guy. Like, you'll be surprised what people say sometimes. So.
Yeah, you may have an assumption or whatever, and you're like, oh, well, I was way off the mark. Yeah.
And I've met gay people that are like, oh, Donald Trump is our best choice. Like, they'll literally iterate, go in on it. Like, they'll tell you why the log cabin party is the place to be.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, where the fuck did
You're
this
like,
come
you're-
from?
You're breaking norms for me right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, for me, I don't have a strong opinion on Donald Trump because I wasn't paying attention, dude. Like, I do know some of the people that talk about Donald Trump and how they are, like, they're like, Donald Trump's going to get elected. He's going to, like, what did he say? Do a, what do you call that? Like not a military lockdown. It's,
I've seen a lot of those.
he's talking about, like, basically,
So there's martial law.
yeah.
There's people that thought that he would do martial law. Are you talking like when he got elected, or are you
No, I'm
talking about during
again.
the election cycle?
They're like he'll get elected again. Someone was saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracies.
He's gonna do martial law. He's gonna put our like 5-star general and like have power over everything, and he's gonna get rid of all these corrupt politicians. I'm like, hold on, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't
That
sound
was
good.
the thing where he was going to declare. They wanted him. That was a QAnon.
That was a
thread.
QAnon.
I'm pretty sure that came from a QAnon thread.
Jesus,
I
okay.
think the whole thing was.
My dad was onto something, I guess.
And look, I'll admit, I looked into that shit.
Yeah.
I was never sold on the majority of QAnon shit, but I've been exposing myself to fucking conspiracies and things like that for a while. And once you open your perspective of just life in general and people, it's easier for you to kind of see through bullshit like that.
Yeah.
People will fucking there's people out there that they don't have anything going on in their lives or they're just in a downtime. And when they find something like that they can just get into or be involved in, they fucking eat it up.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
there's something to be said. Me and Angela talk about prepping and stuff. Sorry if I'm interrupting, but
It's fucking,
people, like a lot of people like I've watched like about prepping, they're like, just you wait and see. It's almost like you're in on something.
it's like
You
it's
think-
always just wait and
yeah,
see.
conspiracy theories too. I'm right about this.
I'm right,
Y'all
you'll
are
see.
stupid. It mentally, your ego, it puts you up above these other people.
Yeah.
Like, you sheeple don't know what's going on. And I'm like, well, you might be right. I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah.
I just got my opinion, man.
Yeah.
Like, what could I do anyways, right?
Yeah.
Just buy more guns, like.
You can dive into that one on an Alex Jones segment. Because that's, yeah. And I understand. I mean, hell, I prep,
Yeah.
but
Ain't
that's
nothing
just
wrong with
that's
it.
just the. I like being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an outdoorsy person. I was brought up,
Yeah.
hunting and fishing. Like my family taught me how to do all that. Um, I can say just being a child watching things growing up, it makes you like, man, the world could just go to shit one day. And like,
Literally any moment.
and when your favorite games are like one of your favorite games is fucking Fallout, like us. I know we both love
Yeah.
Fallout. You're like in the back of your mind, you're like, this shit ever happens, I definitely want to kind of be prepared if I even live.
Dude, you remember Fallout 4 midnight release?
Yes.
Like we ran into each other.
Yes.
Bro, it's just so relevant. Dude, I was out of my mind on Oxy, bro. It was, dude. I was in
I was
a,
like hitting it. I was ready.
I was in a bad spot. It was not a happy.
You were
like,
ready for the bombs to drop, literally.
I was president to die that time, bro. I had like broken up with somebody, or like never officially together, but like
Yeah, just went through that phase.
it was more like one day where I just was like,
In
they were
and
like
over.
80 milligram oxys, dude. Like the Oxycontins, you can't even get them shits no more.
Yeah.
Right, I would like break it off into half and like quarter pieces. I had like a pill bottle full at 80 milligrams and 60 milligrams. It was bad.
Fuck.
Like I never got officially quote unquote addicted, but I was like,
I've seen addicted people.
I could go for one of those right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was just trying to numb myself emotionally from like the pain of like losing someone, being hurt, and then I'm just like taking a quarter. And then like a couple hours, take another
Yeah.
quarter. And then like next thing you know, I'm pretty sure I took like 120 milligrams in a day.
Depression gets you.
Yeah. And I'm like laying there. I got Fallout
You're like,
4. I've been waiting for it for
you're
so
like, I'm
long.
doped up and playing video games.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm just laying there, and I got Austin. He's got it set up in the room too, and I'm still in that beginning town or whatever. Or not even beginning town. You're still in the prologue where you're still making like decisions.
Oh, yeah, you're in the
Vault-Tec's
vault
knocking
tech,
on the door.
yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm vegetableized. I can't fucking move my fingers. I'm just like, I'm broken. And Austin's like, what are you doing, man? Like, are you not playing? I was like, I can't move, man.
Yeah, your nervous system is just.
Yeah, it just shut down. I was like, I might die. I don't know, but yeah, that was a tangent I just went off on. But
Hey, I mean,
it's totally relevant. But
it totally is.
for what we were talking about earlier, but the God, bro, I got off track. What were we saying?
That's okay though.
Yeah.
That's definitely just prepping in general. If people meal prep, so why can't I prep for the possible
Scenario.
collapse of government? A lot of people are always like, "Oh, end of the world." It could be anything. Your government could collapse. There could be World War III tomorrow. I mean, that's a pretty relevant possibility these days. Nuclear fallout, which, I mean, honestly, if nukes drop, we're probably fucked anyway.
Oh, we definitely. I mean,
yeah.
where we're located,
Yeah, I know.
So, Angelo, I was talking to him, and this is totally relevant to like boxing people in and stuff. Angelo said he doesn't like being called a prepper, because like it has like
I guess it has like a stigma.
it
like
has
you're
a
putting
stigma,
them-
right? So everything has a stigma,
Mhm.
and like we're trying to make sense of the world, so we're trying to box people and like
Put labels
ideologies.
on 'em.
Yeah, we're trying to label
Yeah.
everything because it makes it easier for us to like conceptualize and understand. But when we do that with people, we're taking 1,000 shades of gray and making it black or white, or maybe a couple of different shades of gray in between.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to get off on the whole parent conversation thing I had, but if I don't get vaccinated, my parents throw me in a box of what they believe everybody that's not getting the loudest people that aren't getting vaccinated is
Yeah,
saying.
you fucking conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're listening to YouTube videos.
You anti-vaxxer.
right? I'm like, just because I didn't do something,
Did you eat your horse paste?
you need ivermectin.
Yeah. God.
So, yeah.
That fucking shit.
Yeah, it's easier. And me and Angela were talking about it. We're going to call it simple math. People do simple math.
They do.
We boil things down. Like, we ignore 1,000 things. We use an example about gas prices and Joe Biden and stuff like that. And they're like, Joe Biden took over, gas prices went up. And I'm like, well, maybe. I heard at the Keystone Pipeline, he shut that down, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah.
So it was the conversation I was trying to explain as like a thought process on how I think about things versus a lot of people think about things. They're like, well, I don't like Joe Biden. I'm speaking like from somebody else's perspective. I wanted to vote for him, and I said bad things were going to happen, and now I'm paying 50% more at the gas pump. And like this was before the gas prices just shot up like they did like $1, right? Yeah. So they're like, he shut down that pipeline, gas prices are up. And I'm like, well, I don't believe that. But just because I don't believe something is not me taking the counterpoint to say that you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how if I say I'm an atheist, I'm not trying to prove God doesn't exist. I'm just saying I don't believe in God.
Yeah.
It's not an active stance.
Yeah,
when I say I don't believe something, I'm not taking an active stance. If I say I believe God doesn't exist, oh, no, that's a little too finicky. I can't get into that because I'm going to get caught up in the words. But, yeah, I'm just like, I don't believe that because I haven't looked it up and I'm not convinced yet. You know?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's wrong. But when I say that I don't believe that Joe Biden is the reason gas prices went up, they get like, oh, you're so wrong, this and that. I'm like, I just don't believe it. And no matter how much you tell me something, I'm not going to listen to you.
No, that's part of that box, the whole, are you a Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative? Like, it just nowadays, it's instantly affiliated. Like, if the oil field industry is doing good, it's because the Republicans are in charge.
Yeah.
And if it's doing bad, it's because the Democrats are in charge. In part now, it is a little more so because the whole group that, that's on the Green New Deal type stuff and, like, the rapid push away from, like, non-renewables and our original means of energy towards new things like solar, wind. That's partially, why people do that. Like, oh, well, Joe Biden's the reason gas prices went up. Yeah. Donald Trump was the reason they were down because they were more into the oil, which it is. When a Democratic Party candidate or the president is going out and shutting down pipeline deals that connect two countries, like that one was going to do. When the other president was actually pushing for pipelines to be built, it is kind of night and day. You can see that. You're like, okay, one was for the flow of this, and the other is just okay with cutting this off because this group of people says this is bad.
Yeah.
And it's more one side pandering to what they think is going to get them, in good eyes, versus the other side being stuck in their ways. Because I'm kind of right in the middle, when you talked about the climate thing, why we should, we do need to find better, cleaner alternatives. But at the same time, we can't shoot ourselves in the foot and cut our fucking power out and make our gas prices shoot up to fucking $5 a gallon because we're going to hurt the people in this country that matter the most.
We need to have like a priorities list when it comes to energy and really everything that's vital for us to survive and become stay a strong nation. So I'm all for renewables. Like, I'll shoehorn that shit. Like I'll lead the charge when it comes to renewables and stuff. But you can't just shut down and I'm not specifically referencing that Keystone Pipeline because I really know nothing about it.
Yeah.
And, I'm cool with being ignorant
to that.
Most
people that don't even know what the fuck it was, they were just like, pipeline bad.
Pipeline shut down, gas prices high. Causation doesn't equal correlation, but I'm going to do some simple math, and simple math tends to work a lot of the time. But a lot of the time, I'm like, if you do simple math, fine. Just don't be fucking loud about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some ignorant people, very loud.
Exactly.
But, so, even, it's gonna segue at a certain point into that. But Russia, we get like 7% of our oil from Russia.
Yeah,
which is not a lot, but it's also not nothing because 7%, that can be drastic change. But so, I believe in energy independence. I believe in food independence. I believe in medicine and technology independence. Like, we can trade. I think that's awesome, and I'm really ignorant when it comes to the whole trade economy thing. But we need to at least have a certain amount of stuff we produce and manufacture here for national security.
Yeah.
And as much as I am for like batteries, EVs, solar, wind, all that good stuff, even nuclear power, like I'm learning a lot about. It's actually really good.
Are you gonna become a nuclear bro?
No, I'm changing.
There's nuclear bros out there. Like as soon as you say nuclear energy, they're like, "Oh, let me tell you about it."
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's on the up and up maybe because right now there's like a bad stigma around it.
I've always been more aware of what nuclear energy was. I'll admit it was Fallout, like the Fallout 3 when I was playing it growing up. I was like, oh, these guys, they use like nuclear fission. And I was like, I wonder what that would be like. So I kind of looked into that like that
fusion,
that paradox of like what it would be like if we did use nuclear fusion and things like that. I always found that interesting. And it's real funny how close like the Fallout timeline runs with ours and how the similarities are there. It's scary as fuck, but hey, that's a conversation for another day. We'll save that one. But I totally understand where you're coming from, because
you were talking about shooting yourself in the foot, you know, like as a nation.
As a nation, because when we got off from the basically why the politicians, you know, one side panders to what they believe is the popular and rising topic, while the other holds fast to what they've always felt is true. And nowadays, we can't even be in the middle ground anymore. Like, I feel like that's a very important thing for especially Americans. Like, we need to be able to recognize there's a middle ground that's possible for everyone to meet in. Like, you don't have to box someone into that left or right or liberal or conservative, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, and just because a person's like, oh, well, I respected Donald Trump and I liked what he did here and here, you don't have to go, oh, you fucking racist Donald Trump supporter. Like, you're one of those fucking conservatives, gay bashing.
It's real. People are on that, man.
It is. Like, as soon as you show any kind of support, you're like, well, fuck. And then vice versa, though. There's a lot of people like, oh, well, no, Joe Biden. Like, I voted for Joe Biden because of this. People are like, oh, you're just a fucking idiot. You voted for an old, frail man because you don't know shit and you're trying to ruin our country. Like, I hear, you know, both sides.
Yeah. I think it makes the conversation harder when you have two very loud, like, opposing points of view. And then, like, say you're just trying to discuss it. You know, you're just trying to learn, discuss, you know, bounce ideas off each other, thoughts and opinions, and then the person attacks you, tries to box you in. That is an unpleasant experience to have. So that's going to make you somebody that's very more open-minded to learning and being like, well, I like this, I like that. They're not going to want to speak on it. Yeah. So I'm starting to think like all the very open-minded, rational people are just going to stop having the discussion because it's just not worth your fucking time.
Yeah,
or your
especially
energy.
now people use... I don't even really know the word for the tactics that people use. And it got a lot more popular when Donald Trump, you know, came out and he was literally like just hitting these politicians, just slamming them for shit that they did or they didn't do. That was good, and then in a way it's bad because it opened the door for now. It's like everybody fucking does that. Yeah. And like the news media does it. Politicians do it to each other. We fucking do it to each other on the streets. Like if we meet somebody that thinks a different way. You don't necessarily need to just like attack someone or directly like, well, remember when you did this? You were fucking wrong for it. Like, yeah, like recognize, hey, you remember at this point in time you did this and this is the outcome it had. You know, maybe perhaps we could have... You don't see that kind of shit. Yeah. It's just, this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're going to do it. And the other side's doing, well, you're a fucking idiot, and this is why you shouldn't do it, and we should do it our way. Yeah. And it could be almost exactly the same with a couple of changes. But if one way wants to do it this way and call it this, and the other side wants to do it this way and call it that, it's going to be a fucking back and forth. Like, they're not going to meet in the middle ground anymore. And I feel like that's one of the main things that's, like, hurting us as a nation is we're losing what really made us great. And it just sucks. Yeah. It really does. Like, it shouldn't be, oh, you're a Republican or Democrat, like you're fucking blood or Crip. Yeah. Like,
that's how it feels, man.
It's like, what are your party beliefs and why do you view it that way? Okay, well, this is how I view it. Let's meet in the middle and make the best we fucking can out of this situation. Let's meet in the middle
and, like, improve. Like, take 50% of what you want, 50% of what you want. And a lot of this overlaps, right? Like, you can find a comfort medium and, like, you know, Democrats would be, like, more for free health care, stuff like that. They're thinking that these things should be human rights or American rights. And these people are like, well, that's going to cost money, you know, Republicans. But it's not, you know, you talk about the incentive structure of politics, like, well,
everything has incentives, what you just said on healthcare.
So the path of least resistance is what typically happens. So if you have a system in which the path of least resistance leads to where we're at today. Like, you got to change the system in which you do business, or politics. You know what I mean? It's not incentivized for long-term thinking. It's incentivized for just the next election. Consequences be damned.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you gotta, in order to, and this is a belief statement, not a statement of fact, but you have to take money from certain places. The reality of the situation is most, if not all, do. Like I said, I'm assuming they'll have to take money and then be beholden to their shareholders. Except, they're not shareholders; they're the people that donated money to your campaign. But they're shareholders. That's the way I understand things, such as business.
And you owe them.
Yeah, you owe them, right? And then they'll pull their funding for your next election. Yeah. But it's about you having power. Like, maybe you started wanting to change the world for the good, but then you realize, well, I got to do all these things to get here, and the next thing you know,
and I'm sure a lot of people find that out.
You're morally shallow, and then you're just, you're making money from it and all that, and it's just like, after you're president, you make so much money from being on interviews and other stuff.
Oh God, man, Obama made millions just from fucking book deals and just public speaking. Like, I don't think that should, like, yes, we want to hear a former president talk, of course, but like, I've always thought it was kind of fucked up for politicians to make a lifelong career out of being a politician.
I got this. I was talking to Nick about because one of the thumbnails was like, it showed a picture of Joe Rogan with the greater than over Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So we
Joe
talked,
Rogan.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And I was like, because Jordan asked, like, who would you have for president? And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do president and vice president. I was like, got Joe Rogan for president, which people are already triggered right now.
Yeah,
like hearing that,
like,
right?
What the fuck?
And then we got Elon Musk for vice president. Because, Joe Rogan can speak. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Joe Biden's not the picture of speaking, is he?
Yeah.
That triggered my parents hearing that one. God, I gotta get over that one. I gotta get over that conversation.
Hey,
that
man,
yelling match.
You'll get there.
I will.
Maybe one day you'll find some middle ground there. But like that, it's crazy how it even pulls into our families now. Because I can tell you, as a kid, family was so connected, so fun. Talking about family reunions, Christmas dinners, random dinners, 4th of July barbecue. Like, you always did things as a family or had like family meetups. Since politics has gotten so heated, and then especially after COVID, it's like nobody fucking does anything anymore. It's like, there are people that do. I see people, fucking black people. I love black people for this, is the fact that if they have a family or if they have extended family, they're going to have a fucking get-together.
Yeah, they do.
It doesn't matter if it's a barbecue, a fucking party, a football game, a fucking trail ride.
It's like a stronger community.
Yeah, they have a community and a tribe.
Like, I think at the end of the day, you just, politics, right? But at the end of the day, we're family. You know what I mean?
And we let it rip us apart to the
and
point that mom and dad and son can't even have a fucking dinner conversation.
I mean, at this point, ball's in their court. I'll get into that in a later part of the podcast, but I mean, I don't know what to do.
That's that boxing in, man.
Yeah.
You got boxed in. They boxed you in.
They boxed me in so hard, man.
And they started closing the walls in around you.
Yeah.
And you got uncomfortable. So you exploded.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what's wrong with the fucking state of our nation right now.
They're so charged up. Like, their personalities is the media now, and like they're just like it's the end of the world for them, man. It's life and death.
I mean, it's COVID and World War III. I mean,
it's life and death. And me, I'm not that serious. I'm like, all right, it's life and death. It's always been life and death.
Yeah.
Right.
It
is. I was like, you say you want the world to go on for me and my sister, but like, you're living, like, we're both alive right now, and like, y'all just attacked me. So you want me to be like, I don't know. I don't know, man. But the boxing in can't continue, man. We got to find a happy middle ground. But when we talked about like the structure in which all this stuff is set up, like that, not the House of Representatives, you got, I don't know. I don't know all the technical terms. I was hearing someone speak about it. I basically just
What do you mean? Do you mean like
regurgitating
what they are? Because you got Congress, you
Senate.
got the Senate.
Senate, right? You have, and then like they're separated, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. So you have the Republicans on one side
Mm-hmm.
and the Democrats on the other side.
And
But
then you have like a couple like that sit towards the middle that are like
Okay.
independent
yeah,
or
that actually get elected in. Well, somebody was talking about this, so it may be bullshit. I'm just regurgitating it to be totally honest. But they were like, even the way like our buildings are designed for a two-party system.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that curious.
Yeah.
I haven't like looked into
It's-
it at all.
And a lot of countries are like that, though. Like, if I get to talk to you a little more about Ukraine, that's why it is the way it is right now. It's because it's a two-party fucking system, two groups of collecting thinking, one wanting to be one way, one the other, and that's
Well-
why they're in the situation they're in.
We can here. Let's get into that in just a minute. But I was gonna say, go ahead.
I get it, and I said that just ranting off, but it is like we have that left and right, Republican and Democrat. It almost, I question if it was designed to be that way, which maybe it needed to be. Maybe they had that in mind, like, hey, we're gonna be different, so we need to have this way that we come together. But I feel like that's the part where like we come together is where we've jumped off, because we don't really come together anymore. It's like as soon as you're in that chamber, that aisle is the wall. Like, you don't cross the aisle to say that they're doing something that you agree with, and you don't cross. The first time I've seen them bipartisanly come together and do something recently was this thing with Ukraine,
Yeah.
like cutting the oil off from Russia.
Ben, and before we like leave this part of the conversation, I want to leave with like both of us saying what we think can be done to improve upon this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or at least what can we personally do? The quote, if you want to change the world, you got to change yourself. So it starts with yourself. But I mean, I went from thinking about my parents a certain way with like love. Of course, I still love them. I don't think I'm capable of not loving them. But from something where I just wanted to have a relationship with my parents, and now they're so sucked in with their like not even idealism, because I agree with so much of what they have to say. But just because I said like there's two things I don't believe that they believe, which I'm not disproving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that they're wrong.
It's just that you don't agree with it.
I haven't looked at it enough for me to say I agree with it, that I believe that they attacked me. My parents have treated me worse than anybody I've had a conversation with. And like that's a sad state, man.
Yeah.
That is a sad state to be in. And that means they're very unhappy. And my mom's dealing with trauma from watching everybody die of COVID, and I sympathize with that. I empathize with that. I mean, sympathize really, because I haven't experienced what she has.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also their son. So like they should be the parents in this situation, but instead of like, hey, yeah, let's get a little closer, I think they're just like, let us just be the way we are, and that's fine. But
yeah, just let this
like,
be.
Yeah,
you do your thing.
It made it abundantly clear that I can't even talk like a little bit about philosophy. That's something that I didn't think was controversial.
And then, which is
attacked.
something you expect, like, oh, these are my parents. If I can talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
them. But they are just so, and the craziest thing is, they would fall on the left side of this, and it's not like they're radical or anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're just radically closed-minded. And, I'm like, y'all, and I even said this to them in that argument or whatever. I'm like, y'all are doing the same shit the people on the far right are doing. And I'm like, and y'all hate them so much.
Mm-hmm. They just do it back and forth.
Yeah,
to
they
each
just
other.
do it back and forth. And I'm like, you're projecting, like, you're exactly like them, just on a different stance, which is both
Oh, they're
toxic.
both both just like each other. That's like I will never let anybody label me as one or the other for
Yeah.
that reason.
So my dad said this, and I don't want to misquote him. I really don't give a shit if they ever watch this. I haven't posted them to Facebook
Yeah,
yet.
like, watch this.
This conversation that I had with them today made things abundantly clear about my relationship with them,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I feel free to speak my mind and not, and just stop, like, just speak my honest truth. If
You're a
someone doesn't
fucking
like it.
American timer.
Right.
That's what you
I
need to
still
do.
got
We
that
need the
freedom.
goddamn media and all this. This is what I'm talking about. Quit boxing people in and just let them fucking be themselves. That's what made this place. Like, why do so many people from around the world want to come here? They see something on TV where it's like, that person can be whatever they want, or
I mean, look, we
freely express themselves.
we still have white supremacist parades. Still have the freedom to do that. I disagree with that shit.
I disagree with it, but it's freedom.
But the right to do it, right?
It's freedom.
Right? You got to protect that. It is really important to protect the freedom of speech, especially if you disagree with it.
Yes.
Because
the freedom of speech and the freedom of assembly are the two, and press. Those definitely, they have to be protected.
So I believe my dad doesn't believe what he said when he said this. And I'm not even a super emotional person most of the time. I'm very logical. I realize that they're just in a bad way and people say things they don't mean.
Well, when people are down, they're usually.
Yeah. So he said, basically, now I'm like, if I say this, I'll put my dad on blast. But this will only be a problem if this podcast blows up. But he said, people that don't get the vaccine deserve to die. And I was like,
I've heard that one.
yeah, I bet you have. I bet a lot of people have heard that one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so me and my sister are unvaccinated. Mm-hmm. So we deserve to die. Good to know that you think that we deserve to die.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
And I'm like,
it's kind of fucked up.
I was like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get here?
It's like, what if I thought you've never done any kind of hallucinogenic drug, so you never open your perspective on the world, so you're a closed-minded fuck.
Yeah.
Like, you deserve to be unhappy for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That'd be fucked up.
So, I'm getting into it anyways. I'll tell them what I said. And this is what provoked the strong reaction. I said, and I talked to my mom about this, and she was like, she kind of agreed with me at one point.
Granted, they're already set on you being a conspiracy theorist.
Right?
So.
Yeah, because I watch YouTube. It's because I like YouTube. That's it. I said, they think I'm crazy because they think I'm like brainwashed by YouTube conspiracy theorists now because I said I seen a clip where Joe Biden said that like 180 years ago, I remember doing that. And I'm like, and my mom immediately was saying it was a deep fake. I'm like, what's more rational? That he just misspoke?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not saying it could have been a deep fake. You never know. There's probably a lot of clips that are tailored to just shit all over Joe Biden. I guarantee it. Like, maybe just not like fake audio.
The guy before him,
everybody.
And the one before him. It got big, yeah.
But my first response would be like, oh, he just misspoke. So that already shows you how much she just like projected stuff onto it. But I said this. I was like, unless you were there experiencing it yourself, you don't know 100% that is true.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's not a radical belief. That is a fundamental truth belief. Like, and of course, everybody's entitled to believe something different. So just because I feel like that's fundamentally true or as close to truth as you can get, like I said, we can't know for certain the world's going on outside these four walls that we're in right now. But I believe it is.
Yeah, there's something going on out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I believe it's going on, but for all we know, all we know is our experience, and that's the I love philosophy, so that's something I wanted to share, something I'm interested in. All we know is our experience of things, so unless we're experiencing it, but they took that as I can't trust anything on TV, I can't trust this, I can't. I'm like, I still believe in like peer reviewed science.
Yeah,
I was like,
I'll watch it.
It's either black or white. You know what I mean? That statement, them accepting that statement, and I said this before on a previous podcast. If you believe that statement, it makes everybody less credible.
Yeah. Because
unless you're a scientist and you know about like medicine, you won't know for certain. You just really go off of intuition, and that's a hard truth. I think it is for people to accept, and I think that just sent them off. Mm-hmm. Like they could not handle hearing that from me.
Damn. And
they just projected all their anger from all these other people onto me. I'm like literally putting words in my mouth, but.
I mean, parents can do that to you. I mean, they'll hold in a lot of things, and just because you're their child, they'll open up.
Yeah, they think the dynamic means they can talk. A lot of parents think they can talk any way they want to you. I'm like, yo, fuck that. Yeah. That's why I stood up for myself, man.
You got to.
I was like, I don't fucking care what your idea of what a father-son, mother-son relationship is, or like the social dynamics. I'm like, unless you treat me with a certain amount of respect, I'm not gonna have you in my life.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I'm still tied with them in several regards.
Obviously.
And
you were emotionally bothered by it, too. I mean, you're not a 10-year-old child anymore. You're a young man, and you were literally going to them trying to have some insight on something.
Which is, really fucked up is when they're that strongly spoken and they do that and they decide to, I mean, as if they decided, they just, I don't know, emotionally just can't handle it right now. I'm also making observations, but I would be more open to learning their opinion. And like, if they really wanted to change the world, they could start with their son and be like, well, these are some things that I've seen, and here's some information to help you get closer to the truth. And, you know, you tell me if you agree with that, but they don't do that. Instead, they just attack me.
Take the time to do that.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know, you complain about what's wrong with America, but you're not even doing your part.
Well, everybody loves doing that.
Yeah, that's
Like, what is that?
that's the name of the game.
Yeah, what JFK once said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And motherfuckers never listen to that, apparently, because nowadays it's all about welfare and what you can do for me. And is the government going to send us another stimulus check or not?
Yeah.
That was actually, was it last year or the year before? That was one of the top Google searches was, you would type is the, and it would say government sending us
I love
checks.
the Google search thing.
Yeah. I'm just like, fuck you guys. I'm sitting here working my ass off trying to get a check. And I'm like, people are like, I don't want to call people lazy, but like, if that's going to be the mentality, like, are you going to sit around and expect handouts all the time and be a fucking hater and hate on everything and hate on other, like, hate the country, hate the way things are going, hate somebody else's point of thinking, but then at the same time want everything to be taken care of and be perfect? And then maybe that's why some people are so angry, because as they are more eloped into that, they realize when things aren't going the way that they hoped it would, they get bitter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's sad.
I just wish people wouldn't get so, like, it's just so fucking angry at each other when they talk about politics now.
It's
or
really,
like, that's not even really political. That's like just an opinion. Like,
yeah.
5 years ago, that would have been a scientific opinion. Like, for you to have a difference on, like, is this type of medicine better to use than this type of medicine? Like, if you talked about that during COVID, like when Joe Rogan used different things, he used ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he used a number of things, but they were always like, you used the horse dewormer.
Yeah,
And
they were misrepresenting him.
very, because he didn't get vaccinated.
Okay, so, I mean, God, I feel like a broken record talking about, like, I'm not even going to get off on it, like a whole narrative and stuff, but, I mean, the news companies are businesses.
Of course they are.
To act as if they don't have incentive, you know, we talked about incentives earlier. Their incentives is to make money. It's a business.
Yeah, they have people that sponsor ads.
So they're going to tailor what they're saying and the sort of spin they're going to put on it to make the most money. That's just how it is. Like, I'm not to say that we don't need news, because we certainly do. We need reporters, like independent reporters and stuff, but
which you don't see too much of that now.
you really don't. But I don't know, man. Just it's business. So like, it shouldn't to me be controversial to say that the incentive structures of news agencies are not already corrupt because it's beholden to money. It's not beholden to, hey, this exists for one sole purpose. Like, we, the people, donate money to this thing to get the most accurate source of information. And then it's not even just, is it biased or not? Choosing what they talk about on the news is also, like, how do you judge that? What is worth being on the news? You know, you could focus on all the negative thing about this one politician on the news, right? But there's just as much equally bad shit. So why do you focus on this one more? Like, and a lot of it's subconscious too, and a lot of it is conscious.
Yeah, and they're biased, and one showing this part while the other shows that part. And that, which, like, your question, you're like, well, what do you think I think about Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Like, that was why I asked. I was like, depending on the media and what you observed, like, what would be your opinion? I mean, if you just watch one set of news channels all day, like if you're just on the CNN kick and that's all you get in your life, well, then you're obviously gonna have one opinion. I mean, you might somewhat have your own, but if like that's the only thing you're exposing yourself to,
dude, I have this. I'll watch a video sometimes. Like, of course it's YouTube, so of course I'm a conspiracy theorist at this point.
you're in that fucking YouTube.
I'm what's wrong with America. I'm gonna make a TikTok about that. I'm gonna talk
what's
about
wrong
how
with America?
I'm what's wrong with America. And yeah, so I'll find myself, like, say somebody has a strong opinion on something. and then I'll listen to the video and I'll kind of like I'll listen to them like, yeah, that makes sense or whatever. And then I'll find myself telling someone else and I'll feel that strong emotion that they felt. And then I'll have to like back off.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm literally just like I just absorbed it and now I'm trying like I'm noticing myself just pushing what I absorbed when I don't really know much, but I have a strong opinion. So you need to be mindful when you do that. But bro, mindfulness is not a common thing
Well,
here.
most people just, once they've heard something or they feel like they know something or they're just emotional about it, they'll just, they'll speak it out.
That's why I said the first podcast was you're addicted to social media and stupider than you think because people are stupider than they think.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I think fundamental thing for intelligence for me is you realize that you're stupid. Like smart people know they're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's an oxymoron, but it's also true. Also, like getting over the need to be right about stuff. I don't care about being right. Like,
Most people do, though.
I know. I don't care. Like prove me right. Like I might feel it doesn't really happen now because I'm always right. Fucking that was a joke, but it does. My intuition seems to be spot on, but like sometimes my ego will I'll feel it like that flare up of like I don't want to be wrong, but then I'm like, oh, that's fine. That's just a natural instinct. I've been conditioned. My ego's fighting to have this image of myself and how I want to be looked up as an intelligent person. I'm like, fuck that. Like I'm just like, dude, let's just get closer to the truth. Let's just get closer to the truth and do the best we can.
I wish we could all collectively, instead of seeing it the way you're more emotional for or just like what your side is, I feel like we should be able to take both sides and just, what's the middle ground, what's the truth, and just go from there.
Yeah.
But like instead this is what we think, this is what you think, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. It is. It's fucked up. If we could give me a second.
We're a bunch of monkeys, man.
Yeah, we're a bunch of fucking monkeys just fighting each other.
We're very tribal.
I can say that. I say that we're monkeys. I personally, a lot of people, their whole evolution thing, they're like, this is why we behave the way we do because we're monkey people. I don't think we're monkey people. I think there's more to it than that. I mean, we can rant on that another time.
Yeah.
Just one, if we were monkey people, I feel like we would still see monkeys and other primates slowly evolving to be like us or something else. But at the same time, like I see similarities, but that could also just be from us, just our existence and how we came up as a species. But do we act like them when it comes to like tribalism and just if we're this set of thinking, which because I've seen like documentaries and my brother's wife is actually, I'm not sure, she's a vet and something else, but she works at the Chimp Haven Sanctuary, and she tells me all kinds of things about how they interact and like how chimps are emotional. They're possessive, like they only like certain things, and if you introduce something new to them, they get very uncomfortable. Yeah. Sometimes they'll get a rage fit. Like, that kind of goes to us like, oh, wow, you introduce something that someone's not comfortable with and they fucking get uncomfortable, they get sad or they get angry. So you're like, okay, I do see, but we're part of the animal kingdom, so it's something.
Well, I'm not well versed on the theory of evolution, and
it's a theory, just like it all.
I do know there's a counter argument to that.
With everything.
Yeah, right. There's a strong established counter argument to what you were talking about, the how we would see them evolving. But I'm not educated enough to give it. So, and that's something, man.
Well, people would. They were like, oh, well, we found this frozen in the ice and this. And I'm just like,
we're just trying to figure out what we can, and try to be as objective as possible.
Exactly.
So like if, I could look more into it, but I'm also not a strong advocate for the theory of evolution. I just assume, like, I put my faith in science and objective science, peer-reviewed stuff where I could do the same study. Mm-hmm. But have I ever once done that? No. To check it? No, I haven't.
Well, the interesting that you say that. I have which saying this, I know this is completely unrelated to the topic, but I have a slight uncomfortable I won't even say it's an insight, but I have a view that like I worry that science is becoming the new religion, and in a dangerous way. Like we're not necessarily on hypothetical science, like, you know, here's the hypothesis, here is everything we do to test that hypothesis. We're just stuck on like kind of with like COVID. Once a scientist says something and that's what we want to stick with, or that's what the narrative is going to be, that's what it is. And it almost gets turned into a religion because people are like, you have to have this in order to be safe, in order to keep everyone around you safe. There's no other way. Like, I mean, that's kind of close to how people think about religion. Like, you have to believe God. If you don't do this, you can't be saved.
Yeah.
It's like when you sit down and you think about it, you're like, fuck, does everything have to be a cult?
Yeah.
Like, shit.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, man. It's true.
So I do worry about that because, I mean, the way modern political climate is, like, I feel like one way for a more authoritarian-like thing to happen is people would push towards the scientific side of everything.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's almost religion and how the church used to control nations.
So there's another angle,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're talking about my parents and the fear, and like, I'm what's wrong with America sort of thing, right? We tend to, like, yeah, you haven't seen my other ones, but like, I don't believe I exist. As it, like, I think it was
You're in a simulation right now?
I mean, it's possible.
Could be.
If I mean, you know the theory, if it's possible to simulate reality in the future, like our technology gets that good, then we could very well be in one right now.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I've seen all those Matrix movies,
Right.
man. Those are a fucking trip.
But no, that's not what I meant by
Yeah,
fucking the new Matrix.
You're in a video game?
But yeah, it's funny because I'm still like on the journey or whatever. It's not like I'm headed anywhere.
It's a journey.
It's just more like discoveries that like I just don't identify. Like there's so many contradictions. Like the ego, the sense of self, I think it's an illusion. Like just boil it down.
Yeah.
So you could look at, like, I could look at myself, or you could look at yourself as all of humanity, people in general as one organism,
Yeah.
right? Because we're not separate. We try to separate man and nature when that is the furthest thing from the truth.
It's probably the worst thing we ever did.
It's terrible. It's in our environment pays the
We're
price.
learning daily.
So, you know, get rid of that separation. The Earth is just one organism. I mean, it's the whole universe, but for the process of what I'm trying to convey here. And with the person, you have toxic traits and, you know, healthy traits or like healthy habits, right? So just look at, you know, there's only so much one person can do. It has to be like a group consciousness thing.
It's gotta be a
that
group
happens.
effort.
You know what I mean? It all has to come together, and it might not. We might all die in nukes. We kill the planet. You know what I mean? It could all go that way, but
And then the aliens come and reseed it
like,
again for like the third time.
I think a lot of right, reseed it. Damn right. Well, that's a whole
Whole different one.
That's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
I'll have to have you back on for that one.
I told you, man, I'm down with the conspiracies. Will I believe them at the end of it, of the rabbit hole? I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm intrigued by it,
Well,
hell
you keep your mind open
Yeah.
to it, right?
Fuck yeah.
That's the thing, dude. I got something on here. A quote. We question all of our beliefs except for the ones that we really believe in, and those we never think to question.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like that's
Fuck yeah.
That's some real shit, dude.
I mean, yeah.
The ones you can't even think to question. But yeah, so this organism environment, like when we think about leaving a legacy, it's like, or us having kids, it's life after death. Because really, we're all terrified of dying, or most of us are terrified of dying. And you know what I mean? Like, oh, the Earth's got to keep going on. It doesn't have to keep going. It's going to end eventually.
We're afraid of dying, or we're afraid of being forgotten.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
usually one of the
and we're
two.
afraid of being forgotten. That goes right back to the ego, that sense of self, not wanting to die.
Yeah.
And that's also another thing
God, I
why.
wish everybody could just get a little DMT in there.
Yeah, man, just drip the DMT in their blood, man. Fucking change your.
I mean,
whole
it's already
perspective.
there. It's just so fucking blocked off. Most people, they're like, you're not gonna see that until you die anyway. So, but if everybody would do that, maybe that would, like, you know, pull some of that ego back.
That's like the stoned ape theory, how we got consciousness. We started eating mushrooms.
Could very well be so. I mean,
Could be.
I've like I said, I've read into the theories and that. So like the whole Stonehenge thing of like how it was like the nomadic tribes, they started building these things to understand the stars while they were getting high, and it led them to have like fucking trips that led to them inventing things. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Or like the pyramids and how perfect they were. Yeah, dude. There's a lot of shit we're gonna have to have a whole separate.
We can go into
conspiracy theory podcast.
I love Egyptology.
Yeah.
Anything to do with Egypt and the pyramids. Like I love history and mythology just in general. Like I love it. But Egypt, man, there's a lot. Like I think when it was like high school, you know, when you're really smoking a lot of weed and you're getting into the conspiracies, like I got on this Egypt kick, like why the pyramids were built the way they were, where they were, why there was slots in them that you could see like certain constellations at the time of day or the moon or the sun. Like there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
We'll dive into that one day. But you know, back on the topic we're on. Before we ramble on, I mean, at least we're discovering topics for a later time.
Yeah, definitely.
There's nothing wrong with
and
that.
that's the thing, too. You know, I talked about, like, I want it to be, like, I don't care if it branches off, but for keeping people entertained. From
exactly.
Like, it's not like clickbait. You know, I can put a better thumbnail.
To people like me, that's why we like it. Like, I know this isn't going to be something that I click on and it's scripted. Like, these people are talking about this and just this, like, I mean, we're just gonna ramble sometimes. Yeah. Like hell, when I watch Joe Rogan podcast, they're not always about what you think they're gonna be about. Yeah. Like he has the guys talking about their personal life or some fucking incident they had when they went to the beach in Cali one day.
Yeah,
like,
that's you the never shit know I'm what interested
you never
right?
know what you're gonna hear. Yeah. Like I've heard people go on rants and like it's changed my perspective on some things and opened my eyes to some things. So you never know. Somebody might hear you talking about like your parents.
Yeah.
Somebody could be going through that exact same thing, hear you talking about that, and they'd be like, I'm not alone in this, or it just gives them some insight on it. And that's what, you know, I respect and love about podcasts. And, you know, that's good. You know, the more you do this, you're going to get set. You know, like, okay, we'll kind of stay in this lane.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's always going to be a conversation. And with natural conversation, it just flows.
So, like, for me, too, like, say we picked a topic beforehand, but we both come in here and we're like, oh, we really don't want to talk about that. Like, you know, I am interested in, like, your Russia perspective, but I was like, I don't know if I was feeling it today. You know,
who wants to feel it when it's in your fucking face every day?
Every day, man. Yeah. It literally just one thing is now in your face.
That was me with COVID. It's like I was fucking done with it, man. I really was.
A lot of people are, bro.
There's just a lot of people. The goddamn news, and then people thinking that way. Because I mean, I had people in my family that thought that way. Like I would say, no, I don't want to get it because I feel I don't need it. And then I've talked to my doctor and he says I don't have a reason to need it because I'm healthy, don't have any underlying health issues. Just saying that alone isn't good enough for someone now because they're stuck on the narrative of you have to have it to save the planet or to save everyone.
Which I've adamantly disagreed with my parents before. And actually, we had a much more civil conversation that time. I guess they had enough of my bullshit, I guess.
So they just kind of ployed into it.
Yeah, so...
But we shouldn't make fun of people if they don't do something we don't agree with.
Right.
And we shouldn't go, oh, you didn't get a vaccination?
Respect.
Well, if you die, haha.
You just need some fucking respect, man. We need to respect each other. If I say, I just disagree with this, I have my own reason, that should be good enough.
See, I feel like we've lost touch with just common courtesy and respect I would not even just say as a country, but as a fucking world. Like, which we never really have always been in tune.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, fuck, I tell you, I love history. I read fucked up shit in history.
Yeah.
Like
that for you.
Yeah, people think fucked up shit goes on nowadays. Like, don't you read
about
once
you get some context.
Yeah, you get
what
context and
you
read about shit and like how we got here and how different people got to different places. You're like, what the fuck?
Like, honestly, there's a strong argument to be made. Like, it's not that bad right now. It's really not because
it is a strong argument.
Yeah, I mean, we don't a lot of disrespect, but man, back in the day, bro, like we disagree. Like, I'll go kill you.
Yeah, they'd fucking kill you.
That's how we resolved our problems.
Yeah, if you didn't say something that a group of people didn't believe with, they would go to your house in the middle of the night and drag you out of that bitch. And if they didn't kill you, they tarred and feathered your ass.
Yeah, that's
and you
really
wish you
bad.
were dead.
Yeah, that's a really bad way fucking go. Or like the stoning. You don't believe what I believe, I'm going to stone you to death. We're going to bury you.
Or a woman speaks out, so she's a witch, drown the bitch.
Yeah, even if it's like science or like medicine or some
What?
shit. They're fucking, yeah.
Yeah, so we've never been perfect. I mean,
So talking about like the resolution, and it's not really a resolution. I'm cool with all of us dying, I guess, as much as I've ever have been. It's not that I want it. Like I'm with life. I'm with the whole fucking game, the whole fucking the fun, the ups, the downs. I'm with it. I buy
It's a
into
journey.
it. I subscribe to it, but it's not necessary.
yeah.
Survival is not necessary. That is a fundamental philosophy switch that I flipped, and now that I don't describe to that feeling, that needing, like it must go on, like I've calmed down a lot. So, but I do care, and I think it's a cool experience that I want to go on. I want to keep experiencing it for as long as I can, assuming that I hold this position as I do now. So this podcast is a way that I can bring on different people with different opinions, and I want to bring on a lot of people I disagree with.
Oh, that would be ideal.
It's, if anything, I want to set an example for, hey, two people can take a different side and like have a calm, rational conversation, hopefully mostly rational, and still respect
people.
each other.
Yeah, we need that.
Like, if anything, I'll try to lead by example there, because I'm definitely not going to have this conversation with my parents, but there's other people still in their formative years, you know what I mean, that aren't completely fucking batshit closed-minded, and hopefully, when they hear us speak or whoever's on it, that resonates with them, and they're like, hey, maybe they'll be a little bit more mindful when they're having their next conversation. Maybe they're like, yeah, I don't need to be right all the time.
Yeah.
And I get it, being online, everything's online. Like, everybody wants to.
Well, it's online. It's what people need to be. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead, man.
But people need to be more aware of the people that they expose themselves to daily, and the things they expose themselves to daily. Like, are you, like, what you're reading on social media or the news, like, that heavily affects and influences you.
Absolutely.
So being aware to that lets you stay a little more connected to yourself. Because like we were saying, you always want to be yourself. You don't want, just because this group of people that you're hanging out with, this is their belief, you don't want to necessarily fall into that belief. But most of us all do. It's just that whole, you run with your tribe, you all are about like-minded. Like,
you don't want to be ostracized.
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't want to get singled out. Like, we're so worried about being wrong or getting singled out that we've lost touch with what's important, and that's that we're all different and we have different perspectives, and that's how we are able to make better things. I think when we're all hung up on the same perspective or two colliding perspectives, it's very fucking dangerous. But, we learned that.
Yeah, I mean,
We've had a couple wars and stuff.
Yeah, couple. We've been murdering each other for a long time, man. I think we've just gone through like the longest period of not murdering each other at a mass scale.
Yeah, like we were letting a virus do it. So like somebody was like, Vladimir was like, I got you, bro.
Yeah,
like,
I got you, bro. I'll pick up the ball, man.
Fucking asshole.
Yeah.
That guy.
Fucking dude. Talking about that. The energy independence. I guess I'll just round back to finish that thought I had on it. Was I'm all for it, but as Elon Musk tweeted, I'm a fucking huge. I got a fucking Tesla decanter.
I saw that, dude. That's dope as fuck.
Yeah, man, I'm real proud of that. Like that was one of my spendings that I was like I couldn't rationalize for any purpose other than I just want to own this object. I gotta keep that consumerism beast going.
Hey, man.
But
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, he tweeted out, he's like, we should be securing more oil. Like, we should be ramping up production of oil. And he's all clean energy, renewable energy stuff. And he's like, I mean, you can't just turn it off.
Well, he knows what controls the fucking world right now.
Yeah, he's like, we need energy. So, like, as much as, like, that may, like, contradict what my whole mission is like, we can't just turn it off. Like, we need to head towards renewable as fast as possible, but not by shutting down what we have. If we need it for this is like priorities. National security for one. Then after national security, then we can focus on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying we can't do these two things in tandem.
Yeah.
But like right now with Russia doing what Russia's doing, I want to say what Putin's doing, because man, there are a lot of people.
Let's not single out Russia.
Absolutely
as a
not,
because
man.
it's never been the Russian.
Because and that's the saddest thing about what's going on for me. Like, I don't get. It's weird with my emotions. Like, I'll be so like fucking analytical, logical, rational, and then I'll just like start like getting super emotional real fast out of nowhere. It just hits me like a freight train.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, man, these people that are like fighting, like it's not them. Like, and maybe they bought into the propaganda. Everybody's buying into some form of propaganda.
It's either propaganda or they're threatened into it.
You know what I mean? And
is.
you're just fighting. I mean, if we, the people of the world, you know what I mean, actually just said, no, we had enough. Like, hey, we don't want to murder each other. Like, what could they do? Like, because even the guards, right? Like, even the military, like, if your military is not going to act on your behalf because they don't agree with it, almost like a pacifist mindset. Which,
yeah.
But yeah, man, it's a sad thing. Like,
it is.
And it's easier to get in that tribalism, too, during wartime.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, America's great. America's strong. And I'm like, but it's not that simple.
And see, I saw it, but let me say this. That tweet, like how he says, that basically sums up how I feel. Like, yes, we need to work towards cleaner, better. We need to figure this out without killing our planet and, like, doing things that make, we're fucking it up. At the same time, we have to be aware of what keeps the fucking lights on, what keeps our cars going from point A to B, and what keeps your cell phone charged.
Yep.
Because it's not all wind and sun.
Yeah. We could shut it all down. You want to go into the dark ages.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, and
if I had to, I could live like that tomorrow. The question is, like, how many people could live like that in the world?
It'd get really bad, man.
Yeah, it'd get real bad.
People don't even have enough food for, like, the next week.
You seen, like, this whole, when COVID shit started, they fucking fought each other over toilet paper and groceries. Like, if shit really hit the fan, that's why I don't blame people, like, when Angela's like, don't call me a prepper. Like, dude, that is not if you want to prepare for something, go the fuck ahead.
Oh, dude,
if the toilet paper shortage taught me anything, it's to always be prepared.
Let's talk about how there's food on the shelves, but there's no toilet paper. That's one of the dumbest. Bro, you can wipe your ass with whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Like,
we're not even really supposed to use toilet paper, but we do because it's a convenience and we don't want to get our hands dirty.
Bro, I got a bidet, so
I saw that shit.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I was wondering if you've seen
bidet. I've seen one before.
Yeah, bro. Look,
I was like, hey,
it's a game changer, bro. It's a game changer. I'm like, fuck them. You know what I use toilet paper for now? I use it to dry my ass. Because that's what I do. It dries my ass now. And I'm thinking about it, and we always go off or whatever, but it's essentially, toilet paper is this. If a bird shit on your arm, right, would you just go ahead and take a piece of paper and wipe it off, or would you want to wash your arm off? I would probably want to wash my arm. I was like, what the hell? I mean, I'd wipe it off immediately, but you know what I mean? That's the equivalent. But
yeah, man. There's people, all kinds of people walking around there with shit in their ass.
Yeah, I'm telling you, bro. I've seen it. I've seen it, man.
Unfortunately, I have to.
Oh, God.
Yeah, those things, man, they should definitely. The French are pretty smart when it came to that.
Yeah.
But the world needs more bidets.
They really do, bro.
Maybe if people weren't walking around with dirty assholes, they'd be more calm and collective.
Yeah, they'd be less focused on their asshole. Yeah, that's what it is, man.
Be less focused on their asshole, they wouldn't be such an asshole.
Man, shit. Just talking about that, the Elon Musk tweet, I'm so tiled in with him. I'm not like, from the outside, I could even consider myself a fanboy, but I'm also believe I got critical thinking skills, so like if he changed, my opinion would change. But I mean, he's been pretty congruent with his thoughts and what he's speaking about.
Yeah, he's been pretty solid for a while, ever since he come out.
There's a couple things he's done that I'm like, that was childish, but I'm like, also he's changing the world, doing all these amazing things. Maybe he doesn't have time for his own mental health like he should. I don't think he does.
Yeah.
So, but he was talking about free speech. We're talking about freedom of speech, and we're lucky to be able to disagree with each other like we do so much in America. But they were talking about like shutting down like Starlink, how he's helping the Ukraine with them and sending out the dishes and stuff.
Yeah.
But then he's also like people were telling him to shut down like the Russian news or whatever with Starlink, so you couldn't get Russian news.
Yeah, and he said he wasn't going to do
yeah,
that.
he was. He said sorry to be a free speech absolutist.
Yeah.
He's like, and they were saying because of propaganda, and he's like, I hate to break it to you, like
It's all-
everything's some form
everything's-
of propaganda.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and
He's right.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
That goes back to my like what I was talking about. Like, are you listening to your propaganda from the left or the right?
I like to listen to a little propaganda from everybody.
Yeah, I do
You
too.
know?
I do too. I feel like if more people would expose themselves to things like that, or more moderate news would come out, it would help a lot of people. People definitely don't need to just involve themselves in one side of
Yeah.
a story. It's not
See,
good.
but that's the crazy thing. My parents, they look at all the news sources. So like I
Mm-hmm.
said, they're not stupid. They're just, they're scared, and I believe they have their own trauma they're not dealing with
Mm-hmm.
in a good way. And that anger, that fear, and that projection just goes on to people. Like I think they've just been willed down by a lot of other ignorant people that like it's
Yeah.
kind of like the Joker thing, you know. You either die a hero or live long
Oh,
enough
yeah.
to become the villain.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate. And I don't like using absolutist terms. So I believe they can change because we're constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I do find that there's rarely a sideways change where like normally if you're doing something destructive over time it just gets more destructive. And if you're moving in a quote unquote better path, you tend to get more positive. Like
Yeah.
I started this podcast and now I'm working out more on meal prep. Like all these other changes just happen too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're more focused and
Yeah, so I mean, I really do hope for the best for them. And if for some reason they do watch this, they can speak.
it's
they
a
can
lot.
reach out.
You know what you do on your daily. It's got a lot to do with that. I mean, hell, you never know what a person does, what they go through, what they're thinking in their head. So when they see something like that, and they do want to take the time to get involved in politics, they're just not even necessarily just politics, but like politics and world events.
Yeah.
Because it's not all the same, but
Yeah.
it is in a way. It's easy to get caught up in it and just, set in your ways.
They're set.
Maybe.
They're set in their ways. Is essentially my dad said.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why can't you just leave us alone? I was like, my goal was never to have this happen
Yeah.
like this.
It's like, I don't want to be like
But
this. I want to be
I
open-minded.
got tired of y'all putting words in my mouth. You know.
You got to speak up for yourself.
You know the crazy thing is I was like, if I like, which is really weird to speak about it. I was like, if I was the parent here
Mm-hmm.
and y'all were my children, I would be so proud of y'all right now. Like, cause I'm proud of myself
Just for speaking up.
just for speaking up, you know, and even if that does hurt them, you know, or like even if my children were to speak up and like try to set me straight, essentially, I'd be proud of them for standing up for themselves. But I think their ideology around raising a kid is that we should instill these beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you should believe like us because this is right. When I think about having a child, I'm thinking I just want my child to be a critical thinker and make up his or her mind.
Yeah. You just want the best for them.
Yeah,
And
and
develop
with,
themselves.
without projecting what I think they should achieve.
A lot of people when they're out, their little human is like, I'm gonna turn this into a version of me or the version of me that I want it to
wish.
be.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
That's like
it's-
there's so many people that their parents are like, this is what I want you to be, and this is what you're gonna be. And if you don't ever do that, there's a rift in the relationship for some fucking reason because you didn't do what they picked out for you to do
Yeah.
before you were even old enough to fucking figure out what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Like parents, even people that are about to be parents, like you shouldn't. I'm gonna morph my kid into this.
Yeah.
Like, this-
Somebody told me, and I won't name names. I don't know if he's still watching these, but he said that like his life goal is to have a child, and like that's scary to hear, because I'm like, I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, sounds like. I mean, it's good to focus on your child and help them grow.
What's the
and-
goal after having the child?
Yeah, like I feel like you're gonna consume your child when, like, just the way you put that. Like, I feel like you're gonna try to consume him or her. You know.
Which I mean, I have a strong like when I have a child, I'm gonna, I'll be a lot about my kid, but that comes from me not having a father like I have a father figure with my stepfather, but I don't like my real dad was always, you know, just off doing drugs or in prison. So like that void kind of creates a desire for some individuals. Like when they don't have something they grew up with,
Yeah.
they want to give that to someone,
Yeah.
you know. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like giving what you didn't get.
Yeah, makes sense. It really does.
Mm-hmm. And I can see that, but you don't want to, at the same time, you don't want to smother your fucking child, and you don't want to be overprotective. I mean, how many kids that we grew up with that we know that their parents were overprotective to the point that it was bad for their kid because once they got exposed to the real world, it was too much for them.
Dude, I have a coworker and a story with Angelo where that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was afraid he was gonna lose his job over it, but I mean, he
Fuck.
learned something. I watched it happen, and
Mhm.
I learned something from it. I was like, whoa.
Hey,
like,
we live and
you
learn.
gotta be a little bit more cautious, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Hey, we learn. We learn. I went through some life lessons that taught me some things. You've gone through some yourself. I mean, it's a fucking experience.
I also think there's a thing with parents, like they want to be able to brag about their kid. It's an ego boost for them.
It's all about ego, man.
So I know my mom was like really like dead set on me going to college, and I went to Bipsy for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized they were showing me a bunch of YouTube videos, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I was like, first of all, going to school does not up my chances of getting the job for audio engineering, which is what I went to school for. So I'm like, hey, it's not like it's really gonna help me, but it'll just help me to learn these things. And even then, they're showing like half the time I'm watching YouTube videos, and then I'm learning all these other classes I don't care about that I don't need to do this profession. So I was like, I'll just educate myself. And I was also, I didn't think at the time, but if I didn't educate myself, it's because I didn't care enough to do it. So maybe it's not what I should have done.
And I mean, it's school, you'll fail if you don't care.
Yeah, so I dropped out after a year, and then I started paying rent, and then I'm not going to get off on that, but they ended up moving, so I started renting that house. So I never moved out until I got this house. But then, you know, I went through drug court, I got arrested twice, and all this damaged relationships, and then I just saved up a lot of money, and for like several years, like going through drug court and stuff, like really penny pinching or whatever, saved up a lot of money, and then invested that in the stock market, and then had enough for a down payment for this house, had a couple of roommates help pay for the mortgage. But now my stocks fucking went parabolic. You know, I went all in on Tesla stock, which really was the right choice. So
Make your move, man. I didn't have the money at the time, but I was telling mom, I was telling aunt, I was telling friends. I was like, buy this shit, buy this shit, buy this shit. Only 2 people listened to me.
Yeah.
Those 2 people are easily sitting on $10,000 worth of stock or more, if not fucking more. I don't get in their shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good job, man.
So yeah, but I just said this for this point was like I have well over 6 figures in the market now. Like I won't go into specifics on camera.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be. I'm not comfortable saying exact numbers.
It's better to be, from what I've learned, it's better to be private.
Yeah.
Than to be.
Maybe I do it on like my Patreon if I had a Patreon or something.
Yeah,
but
a lot of people feel the need to like tell the world, and I think that's Facebook, Instagram mindset. They gotta they buy a fucking car, they gotta tell the world they just bought a car and take pictures of it and post it. Like if I get a fucking Corvette tomorrow, you're not gonna know until you see me driving that bitch.
Yeah.
Or if I drive up to your
house.
house.
Also don't want to become a target either. You know.
Well, see, I've watched FBI people talk about how people's modern life, their social lives and everything, they make themselves easy targets for like identity theft or even just home burglarizers because of all the shit that we'll post or we'll say, or like on the back of our car we'll put how many members of our family and what kind of dog we have.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, people.
Nah, man, you gotta be like.
In today's world, it's better to be private.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Really is. Yes, we need to be social and.
Was it anonymity?
Anonymity. I think it's a company.
I don't know. Well, fuck that word. That's not. That's not what I was looking for, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah. So since like I got over 6 figures and like you know it's a lot more than that. It's such a significant amount of money that someone would be like, sell that shit. Oh my god, like
sell it
you
now.
Sell it like
sell
you can
now.
pretty
Cash
much
out.
yeah. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm taking it to at least $500,000.
Go for it, man.
But
I mean, at this point, that's your savings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can withdraw on margin. But I want to have a financial podcast one time too. Talk about finances and what I did and stuff and what people can do to like get their shit right. But yeah, that's like something that's like brag worthy now. And like I heard somebody was like, oh yeah, your mom was talking about this and that. I'm like, well, good for my mom that she has something to brag about with me now. But it's interesting that like I guess it's like almost a rite of passage thing too. They're like, we're like, oh, dude, my kid did this and that, but it's also a very egocentric thing.
Oh yeah, dude.
to
My
talk
mom
about.
does that shit when she talks about my brother or me. Like it's always. I'll even tell her sometimes. I'm like, it doesn't matter. But then people get pride.
Yeah, we've gotten away from that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But
Man, I gotta pee.
dude, me too. Well, shit. I think we got enough or whatever.
We got a good little bit.
I mean, it's
just-
over an hour. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. But appreciate you coming on,
Hey,
man. I'll
man.
definitely have to have you on again.
But yeah, dude. No, I'll come back over and we'll do something. We'll do a little talk.
Hell
Angelo's always trying to get me over here. He's
Yeah.
like, dude, go over there and do something.
Yeah.
Talk. I'm like, fuck.
Hell yeah.
me too.
Angelo's been on a few times so far.
I know.
so-
I'm gonna watch him.
Yeah. Well, appreciate y'all tuning in for this one. Hopefully y'all learned something. I
Yeah.
know I did. And
Sorry for being a dumbass.
Yeah, that's what we are. We're just dumbasses.
Yeah, I told you, just opinions. Don't take anything I say for
And,
fact.
if you're pissed about my beard being gone, so am I. It was so
I'm pissed
beautiful.
for you.
Dude, it's
I can't even grow a beard right now, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, what the?
you're trying to get the mustache.
It's
drawn.
like, well, this will grow, and then like I'll have these patches. I have Native American in my family, so I'm sure like the native genes in me
You're,
are fighting with the European genes.
You're the Apache.
Yeah.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
Oh well, that was a joke about your beard being patchy, but that's a perfect.
No,
that's great.
It's funny.
That's
No,
ter-
my
I-
grandmother's actually Apache.
God damn.
Yeah.
Jesus, I've never been right on the money like that. But yep. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah. Y'all take it easy.